In today's bonus episode of Arsenal Unfiltered, I'm going to answer two really important questions. Firstly, ahead of Tuesday night, who are PSG's secret weapons? And ahead of the summer, should Arsenal sign Dean Huijsen from Bournemouth? Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Arsenal Unfiltered, your 3 times a week dose of Arsenal coverage with me, your host Mark. Like you heard, this is a bonus episode. Arsenal do not have a game this weekend. It's very weird being sat here. It's 4:30 on a Saturday afternoon right now. There's no Arsenal game. It feels so strange. I don't like it. I don't like Arsenal not being on the TV. I don't like them not playing. I don't like having something, not to follow and structure my weekend around. But what I do like is the fact that the boys will be getting plenty of rest ahead of the PSG tie. And the PSG tie is where we are going to start this bonus episode. I'm going to talk a little bit about who I think we need to be really, really careful about. And it might not be exactly who you think. And then in the second half of this episode, I want to talk a little bit about Dean Huijsen. This guy has had a fantastic season at Bournemouth. Absolutely fantastic. And big European clubs are circling for his signature now. Arsenal's name keeps getting mentioned with Dean Huijsen, so we need to have a little look into this guy and see whether he's the right fit for Arsenal. And by the way, is it Dean Huijsen? Huijsen? I really don't know how to say this fella's name. If you're on Spotify, get in the comments, leave a comment in the review. How am I supposed to say this name? Because I've heard it said about 3, 4, 5 different ways by now. Before I get into the content of today's episode, I just want to say I really, really hope wherever you are well. I hope you're not suffering like I am with the lack of Arsenal. Hope you're able to kind of take some peace from it. And I want to say welcome to the listeners that we've had from multiple different countries across April. We've got people in Ireland and the Czech Republic and especially as well Australia. That's fantastic. Really, really happy to have you all on board. And obviously a big shout out to everyone who listens in the United States. After the United Kingdom, the United States is the biggest country I broadcast to. So welcome everyone around the world. I hope you are well. Let's get into it then. Who are PSG's secret weapons? And I'm going to be very particular on this because I think a secret weapon, for it to be a secret weapon, it has to be the people you're not expecting. Okay? So when we go through their team, Dembele is obviously a big worry. Kvaratskhelia for me is the biggest worry. What a player he is. Really didn't know much about him when he was at Napoli. Obviously heard the name, heard a lot of people really rave about him, but had never really watched him. I've watched him a couple of times with PSG this year. What a player. Really wish he was at Arsenal, but alas, that's done, that's gone. That opportunity's gone for us now. But a fantastic player. Desiree Doué, a young French lad coming through, and Bradley Barcola as well. They're the obvious guys. But what I want to draw everyone's attention to is maybe the 2 players who I think will, if Arsenal are going to lose this game, I think they might be the deciding players. Now, I don't think we're going to lose. I have faith. I'm confident that Arsenal can get through this tie, especially the home leg, with a victory and get through to the Champions League final. And I feel, for the first time in a long time, I feel really good about our chances going deep into a competition. However, if we aren't going to get past the semi-final stage, I think the 2 players who are going to do it are not involved in the front 3. I think we've got the players to cope with that front 3. I think Miles Lewis-Skelly, Jurrien Timber, Saliba, Kivior, they'll go up against those guys and match them stride for stride, just as they did with Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo and Mbappe. They've proven they can deal with these big names. So I'm absolutely confident that those guys will, whilst they're fantastic players, but they will be silenced by Arsenal. The 2 players who I'm most worried about, they're not even in midfield. It's the fullbacks, Hakimi and Nuno Mendes. If you've watched PSG play this year at all, like even once, you will know that these guys are absolute fire. They really are. I think we've got some sensational fullbacks. I just mentioned a couple of them there. You can throw Calafiori and Ben White into that mix as well. But I think if we had Hakimi and Mendes in our team, wow, what a force we would be. These guys are, well, Nuno Mendes especially is young. He is 22. Hakimi is a little bit more experienced, but not old at 26. And these guys fly forward for PSG. They absolutely bomb forward. They have a real, I don't want to say free role, because at the end of the day, they are still defenders by nature. But they're really, really attacking. Across the Ligue 1 and Champions League this year, Hakimi has 6 goals and 11 assists, and Nuno Mendes has 5 goals, including 4 in the Champions League, and 3 assists. They have also got a huge amount of shot creating actions and goal creating actions between them. Listen to this. In Ligue 1, Hakimi, 103 shot creating actions from fullback. That's wild. A really, really impressive scouting report for these guys. And I must admit, FB Ref is a great place to go and look for information when you're preparing for a podcast. And I've never seen scouting reports like this. Never, ever. Now, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt, right? These guys are world-class players playing in Ligue 1. And they could come to the Premier League, and I'm not sure their numbers would be exactly as good as this. And maybe in different systems, different teams, it wouldn't be as good as this. But Hakimi's attacking stats are absolutely insane. He's in the 99th percentile for shot creating actions per 90, 99th percentile for passes attempted per 90, 99th percentile for attacking touches in the attacking penalty area, I should say, 99th percentile for progressive passes received. It's an absolutely wild scouting report. 98th percentile for progressive carries. This is all versus fullbacks, of course. And Nuno Mendes is not quite as attacking, but he's pretty similar. 99th percentile for passes attempted. He is in the 96th percentile for progressive passes, 95th percentile for successful take-ons. These guys are very, very attacking, especially Hakimi, and they will be launching forward. Why do I think that these are the PSG secret weapons? Well, one, I think they add so much to the PSG attack. They can go inside as well, by the way, guys. They are not just going to be hugging touchlines and putting crosses in for Saliba and Kivior to deal with. I don't think we'll see that at all. I don't think they'll bother, because they'll know Saliba and Kivior are just going to deal with that. They'll have watched Real Madrid try the weird crossing tactic that they tried in the second leg, and they'll go, well, we're not going to do that, are we? Because it didn't work in any way, shape or form, and it's not like they are, they don't have a Peter Crouch up top, right? They don't have a Beto. They have Dembele, who's playing through the middle at the moment, and he is not going to win aerial duels against our 2 big centre-backs. So what they're going to do is they're going to try and get us in transition like they do with everyone, and they are so fast, so effective, that I think that's probably their best route to go. And let's just be clear about this. These guys will go anywhere on the pitch. In one of the goals against Villa, they were the front 2. They were like 2 strikers inside the wingers, and they just launched forward. I'm pretty certain it was an assist for Hakimi and the Mendes finish. And they're very central for that goal. Very, very central. And I remember thinking, how is that Nuno Mendes? How is that Nuno Mendes that high? When I watched this goal, and I just thought, wow, those guys are in a completely random position, basically. And the reason I thought that's so interesting is because Villa had been attacking. These weren't 2 fullbacks who were pinned back in a back 4. PSG had filled their positions, so they just stayed high, and they were ready, and they went fast. They are an incredible pair who can go inside and outside, and I think the main reason why they might win PSG this tie is not just the fact that they can move so quickly in transition and be so effective going forward, but they also might kill our biggest threat. And I think there is going to be a real incredible battle between Nuno Mendes and Bukayo Saka, and Gabriel Martinelli and Achraf Hakimi. Let's start on our right, their left, because I think Bukayo Saka is probably maybe just going to get the better of Nuno Mendes when we are in the PSG third. Nuno Mendes, fantastic player, but Bukayo Saka has made better defensive fullbacks than Nuno Mendes look quite silly. And if Bukayo Saka's at it and he's fit, we're still kind of waiting for him to reach that full level of sharpness. Against Ipswich, he probably should have had 2 goals. If he was sharp, he would have had 2 more. If he's at his best and he's playing well, I think he beats Nuno Mendes. So really the question is, can Nuno Mendes pull Bukayo Saka back far enough and maybe exploit some of Bukayo's lack of fitness and getting up and down, or ability to get up and down because of that lack of fitness? Will Nuno Mendes be brave enough to go high and cheat, especially at the Emirates in that first leg? Will he be brave enough to do that, knowing how Bukayo Saka can hurt him in behind? That, I think, is going to be a really interesting battle, because if PSG go with the pretense of, we're going to be a bit tight, we're going to kind of draw everyone in a little bit, and we're not going to play exactly how we would normally play, I think Bukayo Saka kills him down that side. I really do. The way Nuno Mendes beats Bukayo Saka and beats Arsenal is he goes high and he plays a very risky game, but he keeps Bukayo Saka as far back into our half of the pitch as he can. Of course, that risks the counter-attack, but I think that has to be how they play. They have to keep forcing Bukayo Saka back. Gabriel Martinelli and Hakimi, maybe a slightly different prospect. I think Hakimi and Martinelli are very evenly matched when we're in the PSG third. Martinelli can beat anyone on his day. However, Hakimi is a really experienced, really well-rounded fullback. He can defend and attack, even though that kind of the focus for PSG's system is him getting forward. He can really do both. And I don't think Martinelli is at the level that Saka is, where he can almost hurt anyone. On his day, I think he can, but he's probably not consistent enough to do that. So I think this is going to be a really interesting battle, because one thing we love about Gabriel Martinelli is his defensive work rate. So in the reverse of this, right, and on the right-hand side, our right-hand side, I think it's all about Nuno Mendes has to go high and be brave and keep Bukayo Saka away from the PSG goal. On the our left, their right, I think that's almost a done decision. Hakimi will go high. Even if they decide we're going to be quite tight and compact, I think they know Hakimi will be going high and really, really aggressive, because I think he knows Martinelli will go with him. And if Martinelli goes with him, it will be about, which we have done many times this season, can Martinelli protect Miles Lewis-Skelly, protect that area with Declan Rice, win the ball back, and then launch? Because that's how we do a lot of our counters. You'll notice we counter down the left far more than we counter down the right. We build up down the right, we counter down the left. So if we can get enough men backing in around Hakimi, around, I guess it will probably be Doué or Kvaratskhelia on that side. If we can get enough men in and around there, can we win the ball back and move it sharpish to get in behind Hakimi? So I think, it's going to be a really interesting battle on both sides of the pitch. I do think that they're the secret weapon. I think it's obvious that Dembele is going to be a threat. It's obvious that Kvaratskhelia are going to be a threat. I do think we've got the one-on-one manpower to go up against them. But we will have Declan Rice, Mikel Merino. They will have a job on, because they will be trying to stop Vitinha and João Neves dictating the game, moving the ball really, really effectively and putting those balls over the top of our defence for Dembele to chase. They'll be trying to stop that. But they'll also have to have one eye on these fullbacks that are flying away from our wingers and just thinking, how do I cover both of these players? Or can I make sure that Saka is back in on Mendes and Martinelli's back in on Hakimi? One thing's for certain, guys. We are going to have to work very, very hard. Our forward players are going to have to do a lot of tracking, because PSG are going to run at us. Right, that's the secret weapon. I'm going to take a short break. And when I come back, I'm going to talk Dean Huijsen. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you're like me, you finished watching an Arsenal game and you're already looking for the next bit of Arsenal coverage you can find. If that sounds like you, follow or subscribe to Arsenal Unfiltered on your podcast app of choice right now to make sure you don't miss a single episode from me. I'm here 3 times a week, reviewing matches and covering Arsenal news, and I'm so excited to have you all here as well. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of this bonus episode of Arsenal Unfiltered. In the first half, I spoke a little bit about the PSG fullbacks and how they are going to be the secret weapon on Tuesday night for PSG. Right now, though, I'm going to take things back to the Premier League and take things away from the Champions League, which I know is odd, but we still do have a few days before that game, so there will be a full PSG preview pod coming up. So don't worry, I will be doing more PSG stuff very, very soon. Why I want to talk about Dean Huijsen, and I'm going to go with Dean Huijsen for now, okay? But whoever knows how to say his name, please tell me, because I'm just not sure. He's at Bournemouth right now, and the reason I want to talk about him is because he is everywhere in the papers, in Sky Sports Transfer Centre, The rumours are really picking up, and quite rightly so. He's had a fantastic season at Bournemouth, done a really, really good job. And yeah, they've had a difficult time recently, but they've had a fantastic season, especially when you consider the injuries that Bournemouth have had. So fair play to him. They signed him for £12 million the summer just gone, and it's a £12 million well spent, because it looks almost certain that they will receive £50 million for Dean Huijsen in the summer. That is what his release clause is rumoured at. Odd for a player in the UK to have a release clause. It's something very, very common in Spain, especially, and more European. We don't tend to have them in contracts in the UK. However, he is Spanish, so maybe he's grown up knowing release clauses. He's very used to that as a principle, as a concept, and he wanted that in his contract. And his agent has clearly done a good job, because I think he will get a big move this summer thanks to that kind of clause. Maybe if he didn't have that clause, Bournemouth would be looking for somewhere sort of 60, 70, 80 million, and that might price people out of it. He's 20 years old, so look, he's still quite unproven, is what I would say. He's got a long way to go in his career, but at £50 million, I'm sure plenty of Premier League clubs and some clubs in Europe are looking at him and thinking, this guy could be a real bargain and one for the future for us. He's a bit of a spindly lad when you look at him, but he is obviously only 20. He will be growing even further and getting a bit bigger, I'm sure. But he is a fantastic player. And again, I've been on FB Ref to look at some of his stats, and I'm not going to lie, it's screaming Saliba at me. It is screaming Saliba at me. So listen to some of these stats. 93rd percentile in progressive carries. We've seen Saliba go flying out with the ball at his feet. He's very used to going, if there's not a pass on, I'm happy to run it into midfield. So Dean Huijsen has that. We know that Saliba reads the game so incredibly well. 99th percentile. Dean Huijsen, 99th percentile for interceptions. Saliba reads the game well. Huijsen reads the game really, really well. Clearances, 98th percentile. And really interestingly, I think his attacking stats are very interesting as well. 95th percentile for shot creating actions. This is obviously versus centre-back, so it's still a low number, but really interesting. It just screams Saliba at me in terms of a stylistic fit. And I think, therefore, it's very interesting in two parts. One, that Arsenal are in for him. Seeming we've got Saliba, we've got a centre-back like that, in that style, in that vein. Not the biggest guy you're ever going to see, not the brawn of that centre-back pairing, or even that whole defence, but the brains of it. He is the brains of that defence. So it's very interesting Arsenal are linked with him. It's even more interesting, in my eyes, that Real Madrid are linked with him. Because Real Madrid have been very, very linked with William Saliba. Have they kind of looked at Huijsen and gone, that is a half-price version of Saliba with a few more years. And he's Spanish. I'm just wondering. That's my feeling. That's my thought for it. There are obviously tons of other clubs that are really, really interested. Chelsea is a name that I keep hearing as well. So, look, this guy is going to go for big money in the summer. Should Arsenal do it? Well, I guess there's plenty of thoughts. If it is a Saliba replacement, now my hunch is right, and we're kind of gearing up to make a big sale. I've said before on this podcast, I do think at some point we are going to have to get our heads around. Arsenal are going to sell a player we don't want them to sell. That might be Gabriel. It might be Saliba. It might be Gabriel Martinelli. We don't know. However, we are going to have to do it at some point to get a big amount of money. We've sold Emil Smith-Rowe, Aaron Ramsdale. We've sold Eddie Nketiah. Moderate amounts of money. Eventually, we'll get to a point where we're going, okay, well, we need a big sale. We need a big sale to keep our PSR kind of in a good place, to keep funding big transfers, to keep evolving the squad. We are going to have to do that at some point. Are Arsenal looking at Huijsen and thinking, okay, we could get this lad in. He could play 20, 30 games this season. Rotate him in and out with Saliba, Gabriel, get him up used to the system. And then next summer, or the summer after, sell Saliba for big money. We'll obviously have to put him on a new contract to do that, but sell him for big money. We've already got the replacement in the team, in the squad. Maybe that's why Arsenal are looking at him. But for me, if Arsenal sign him, £50 million this summer for a spot where a player isn't going to be a first team player, I'm not sure you can do it. I'm really not sure you can do it. Because we know we're going to do Zubimendi for 51 million, or we know as much as we can, it's very likely that we're going to do Zubimendi. We know we need a forward. I think we still need a creative midfielder and a winger as well. That's a lot of money to buy the players at the level Arsenal need to buy them. That is a lot of money to throw £50 million at Dean Huijsen when we're really not sure that he would ever, take one of those places off Saliba or Gabriel. I think it's a difficult place to be. Plus, he's not going to command a small wage packet. This guy's wanted by the best of the best. If all the teams who are interested in him meet his release clause, he's going to have the pick of European giants who can pay him a serious amount of money. Can Arsenal afford to put that kind of wage on the bench? Again, we've got too many players there, I think, on big wages. When everyone's fit, Gabriel Jesus is on that bench, Zinchenko's on that bench, Jorginho's on that bench. Big money players. I'm not sure we can afford that. So I think that's a really interesting one. And of course, the player has to come into this as well. What does Dean Huijsen want? He's Spanish, so he might want the Madrid move, right? They need to regenerate and renew in that position. Rudiger's getting on a little bit. I'm not sure how old Militao is, but they're looking at that and going, well, Rudiger's getting on. Asensio's come in. He's been good. We're still a player light in that area. Alaba's really moved to left back now. We've seen him play centre back before, but I think he really has moved to that left back spot. Maybe he wants Madrid. But he will want to play wherever he goes, and I don't think he'll get that at Arsenal. I really don't. I think Gabriel and Saliba are just too good. And unless we've got a big plan to sell one of them, I can't see Dean Huijsen coming in and being that guy. As well, we'd have to get rid of probably Kivior or someone like that to make space for him. And I just think, Andrea Berta has plenty on his plate this summer. Needs to tie down several key contracts. Needs to sign several key positions. Do we need to be doing this bit of business this summer of all summers? I'm not sure. So for me, I wouldn't be entertaining it. I don't think he is so good that he is a player that you have to go and get to prevent your rivals getting him. Like City did when Erling Haaland became available. And I guess United did when Ronaldo moved, of course, as well. I don't think he's a player, of that I must go and sign him level. And I think he's too expensive for what we need right now. So we might live to regret it if we don't do it. He might become an all-time player. But for me, right now, it's not the right move for Arsenal. Okay, guys, I mentioned halfway through that I am going to do the PSG preview podcast. So that will be out on Monday. So I'll do that kind of Monday morning, hopefully, if not Monday night, and get that out for you so you can spend your day on Tuesday listening to that for the build-up towards the game on the 29th. I didn't get tickets in the ballot. If you did get tickets, I'm so jealous of you. Enjoy your evening at the Emirates. I'm sure it is going to be absolutely incredible. I think it is going to be the atmosphere of all atmospheres. Apparently there's this huge tifo being done by the club, which I'm really excited to see what that looks like. And then, of course, we'll review the game on Wednesday, hopefully Wednesday morning. But again, if not, Wednesday evening. And then we'll be back in Premier League action, guys, which feels a bit weird to say. No one really cares at the moment, do they? It was tough to care the other day. But we will be playing Bournemouth 5:30 on Saturday afternoon. So again, I will be previewing and reviewing that game. I hope you enjoyed this bonus episode. Like I said in the middle, if you've enjoyed any episode of Arsenal Unfiltered, please consider giving me a follow or leaving a review. The reviews are super helpful, so please keep them coming in. Really enjoying some of the comments from the community out there, so really do appreciate everyone's kind words. And I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for following. Thank you for listening, and I will speak to you very soon.